Beautiful people. Happy Thursday. Happy Thursday. Forgive me for my few minutes being tardy, y'all. Running behind this morning. All right, y'all. So we'll get right to it. Happy Thursday. It is December the 1st, 2022. Day 274 of year 4, reading through the books of the Law and the Prophets. Another 4-year consecutive day count. Day 1,297. Today we continue reading the book of Oahspe on page 67. I think we're going to actually get into the sinking of the continent of Wagga today. Yeah, with chapter 4. And then once we get done with that, we're going to jump right over here to the field guide to the spirit world, picking up on page 153. And we might finish the chapter today. We might. Father, we thank you that you are a great listener. All right, everybody hanging out. Hey, everybody. Hey, y'all here before I was. Nazarene, the singing, grand rising, family lounge. Shebrew. Hey, girl. Hey, all praises to the creator. Imam. Grand rising, Vinette. Greetings, Prince. Happy Thursday, beloved of Jehovah. Thank you, and you as well. Elijah. Grand rising, family. Dawn, grand rising, sis. Auntie. Hey, everybody. Happy 1st of December. Auntie Belinda Brown. Nasarai Yahoo 777. Shalom. And everybody else here. Facebook and YouTube. Hanging out in the background. Top of the morning to you. All right, y'all. Let's get started. Chapter 4, page 67. At the top. Hannah. Happy day. Happy day. Jehovah said, my son, put a wall of pillars of fire around about the land of Wagga. Plant them near as a hedge is planted. For the false gods and false goddesses of Haddah, when perceiving their habitation is going down into the water, will endeavor to escape to Jud and Vohu and other countries. Remember, Jud, I believe, was Asia, and Vohu is Africa. For the false gods and false goddesses of Haddah, when perceiving their habitation going down into the water, will endeavor to escape to Jud and Vohu and other countries. But thou shalt not suffer one to escape, for they have migrated to this division of the earth because of its sumptuous productions, the better to feast their evil desires. And thou shalt spread a net around the borders of Wagga against the line of the ocean, and to the high north mountains, that the net shall encompass the continent of Wagga, and it shall be to the height of 1,000 miles, and in breadth, so that no spirit of darkness can escape and find the way abroad. What's interesting is that there's a spiritual net that you can catch them into. We might need some of them down here. You know how people go fishing, but they got like this thing where they can scoop things out the water. It's like, it's like a pole, look like a tennis racket, but the part where you hit the ball with got this net that come down like that. I wonder if we got something like that. I don't know. We could just cast things out, which we probably don't need it, because if we caught it, what we gonna do with it? Like what I'm gonna take the spirit to? You just cast it out and leave it to everybody that's already in that realm. Yeah, I know, right? Nazarene is seeing a net. Listen. Let me go back. Verse 3. And thou shalt spread a net around the borders of Wagga against the line of the ocean and to the high north mountains, and the net shall encompass the continent of Wagga, and it shall be to the height of 1,000 miles and in breadth, so that no spirit of darkness can escape and find the way abroad. Spiritual net, the biggest net ever. Yeah, I know, right? And when thou hast spread the net, thou shalt send the large kingdoms in Haddah. And when thou hast spread the net, thou shalt send to the large kingdoms in Haddah and to the false kingdoms a sufficient number of Etherians of great power. And thou shalt send down to the earth to Wagga a sufficient number of Etherians, that every mortal man and mortal woman and every mortal child shall have 5 to attend. And they that go to mortals shall take with them birthing blankets, a sufficiency for in the time of destruction, when the mortals go down in death, thy servants shall receive the liberated spirits on the birth blankets and bear them to the atmospheric column of ascent. Just like, this is so amazing to me. Like, it's been happening way before I was birthed here and put in a blanket. But I'm just saying, just thinking about this, like, man, like, this is really happening. It's pretty cool, and we can see things that we'll learn about in the spirit here on this level, just at a very, 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 we just get a small glimpse of things that will continue to go on, just on different levels and of a higher magnitude. It's great. Anita, greetings. Grabbing them up. And when thou hast spread the net, verse 4, page 68 at the top. And when thou hast spread the net, thou shalt send to the large kingdoms in Hada, and to the false kingdoms, a sufficient number of Etherians of great power, and thou shalt send down to the earth, to Waga, a sufficient number of Etherians, that every mortal man and mortal woman and every mortal child shall have 5 to attend. And they that go to mortals shall take with them birth blankets, a sufficiency. For in the time of destruction, when the mortals go down in death, thy servants shall receive the liberated spirits on the birth blankets, and bear them to the atmospheric column of ascent. And hither shall thy host receive them, and provide them with food and clothes, after the manner of Esians. But it shall come to pass that many mothers shall perish in the waters, with children in the womb, which live by fetal, and is proper in my sight, for so created I them. Therefore, to all such fetals give special care, for they are without sin. And when the mother is dead corporally, and the fetal also, bring hence their spirits, but together, and provide a volunteer angel of fetal power, and deliver the infant spirit to her, to be nurtured until the proper time of weaning, and provide in the same place a home for the mother of the child, that she may inherit its love and mirth. This is Yahweh Shalom. Shebrew said, I wonder with them having nuclear weapons, if they hit the button, would the same happen? Creator would prepare with multiples, awaiting one per soul. Prepared with multiples. Creator will prepare with multiples awaiting per one soul. What, Sheba? Rephrase the last thing you said. Hold on. I know what you're saying. Up here, hold on. A sufficient number of Etherians, that every mortal man and every mortal woman and every mortal child shall have 5 to attend. So with this, would there be many angels wait? Right. Okay. That's what I thought you were saying. That's why I had to go back here. I would think so. I would think so. Right. I mean, I would think so. I could be wrong. Don't quote me. But if we have multiples while we're here, and at least I say we got multiples here, we definitely get 2 at the time of birth, right? You got one. You got the 2 main ones, right? And they just tag team in and out. All right, bro, I'm about to go on break. You come handle this. I'll be back. Right? And so they change, according to Oahspe, they change shifts. They rotate every Sabbath. So they got a week on, week off, week on, week off, right? And it could be a couple more, but at the very least, I believe once we get into the Book of Divinity again, I believe it was there, but don't quote me. But that's what we learned about that. Remember, I was super excited. I was like, yo, so remember when I said I knew it? We got at least 2. And then when you get married, if you get married, you get another one. You get like one that attends to you and your spouse, right? But I would think if you get one for you and your spouse, they also come in doubles. So they can change out on the Sabbath as well. So for certain, if you get married, I almost want to say you get 4. That's not counting the ones that come along when you begin to have children, right? So I would think so. If the same thing happened, if they just dropped the bomb, you know, because it would devastate a nation and kill a lot of people. I would think that they would be in place to receive those souls with multiple angels. I would think so. Like I said, I could be wrong, but based on what I know now, I would think so. I think so. All right. Zakar Yahoo. Shalom, shalom. Okay, so we'll go back. We're on page 68, Book of Oahspe, Son of Jehovah, at the top. And I'll reread verse 4 again and we'll go down. And when thou hast spread the net, thou shalt send to the large kingdoms in Hada and to the false kingdoms a sufficient number of Etherians of great power, and thou shalt send down to the earth, to Waga, a sufficient number of Etherians, that every mortal man and mortal woman and every mortal child shall have 5 to attend. And they that go to mortals shall take with them birth blankets of sufficiency. For in the time of destruction, when the mortals go down in death, thy servants shall receive the liberated spirits on the birth blankets, and bear them to the atmospheric column of ascent. And hither shall thy host receive them, and provide them with food and clothes, after the manner of Esians. So he assigned multiples to save them. Could be. I'm thinking that since Creator caused the sinking, it was up to him to make sure all spirits were saved. It was. Yeah, right? Yeah, because he preparing everybody. He said, look, this is what I'm going to need y'all to do, because we about to break them off something proper. Literally, break them off from the rest of the landmass and sink them. But properly, before we do this, let me get everybody in place. Listen, y'all the ones, y'all going to break the crust of the earth. Everybody else, you got your buddy? You got your buddy? You got your buddy? You got your buddy? Okay, now pick your man. Buddies, get together, pick your man, woman or child, and be ready to receive them. Birth blankets ready? They warm? We ready to go? All right. 5, 4. Yeah, so isn't that in the movie Astro City? It is sort of that I remember. There's definitely a hospital. Okay, so okay, so a part that I remember, and I'll probably have to go watch it again. The part I remember when, okay, so in there they showed the a representation of the Jewish Holocaust happening, right? So in that movie, when that was happening, yes, babe. Yes, I'll call you. Okay, so in that movie, the Holocaust, they didn't show it, but they just kind of mentioned it. And, you know, as the souls were dying, and it looked like they were dying in mass, in the movie Astro City, a bunch of Jewish people began to show up and come to the hospital. And so they didn't, I mean, like I said, I will have to watch it again. I'll probably watch it again before the week is out just to see. But I remember them coming, walking, some on crutches, limping, whatever had happened to them. That's how they're coming, and they're entering into the hospital. And as they're coming in, you got those who have already been there in Astro City, born in spirit, who are coming to greet them and help them and get them into the hospital. Right there was a war, and the angels that crossed over had guardian angels waiting for them. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Mothers. Man, here it's love and mirth. Okay, verse 7. I'll leave you alone. Go ahead. When the verse 7 on page 68 at the top, when the voice ceased, Oahspe, son of Jehovah, looked about over the host as if in search of a sign that the time had come. But again Jehovah spake, saying, in the misfortunes of a fallen world, created I food for the warm love of my Etherian goddesses. Behold them hereabout in millions, everyone in hope of receiving a prize of that which was lost in darkness, to raise up sons and daughters who shall rejoice in everlasting paradise. Think not that I gave the talent of love only to a mother for her child, and there the talent to end. For as the talent in its incipient age bindeth her soul to her child, so doth the same talent in my goddesses overspread a helpless world. Are they not as midwives and mothers to thousands and millions of souls being delivered from corporal bondage into everlasting light? And who can number them? Here standeth 100 million come from Lagos, 100 million from Enopa, 200 million from Karduk, 100 million from Buk, 200 million from Nen, 250 million from Luthwig, 100 million from Pede, 200 million from Rage, 50 million from Navis, 200 million from Dakat, and 250 million from Old. I spake in the ethereal firmament, and they have answered me. Yea, they come not as curiosity seekers and with empty arms, but behold them arrayed with their thousands and millions of small equipments suited to the newborn. What thing is there under the sun they have not remembered to bring with them in some part for regiment or drapery, to rejoice the souls of them that are to be cut off from corporal? That sounds just like a mama, don't it? Baby, I got everything here already, what you need. Like when my son and his kids come over for the weekend, like he's still trying to get it all under control, doing him and his the children's mother working together doing this co-parenting thing. And I'm like, son, well, you ain't got that. Well, you with us, but you got to have this, and everything. Yep, I got some. Yep, I keep a stock of it. And some stuff I didn't get rid of because of my grandbabies in their age. I'm like, yeah, I'm sure I'm going to need that. What you got? Yep, look at my herbal medicine cabinet right over here. Yep, got that. You need, oh, don't worry. I got some of that. Wait a minute. Bella still got some. Hold on. We got everything. All right. Chapter 5, page 69 at the top. Jehovah said, now will I bewail thee, O earth. The glories of thy heavens that are past and gone shall be a lesson to the gods. Thy place of Horeb, once the place of wisdom of my son, Sathantes upraised. Behold, it is measured and gone down, and Moab is no more. Yeshua is fallen. Remember Yeshua, we learned here that Yeshua is actually a place. It's like the Hawaii or the Bahamas. It's a place of R&R, rest and relaxation. That's where the angels go. You know what? We need Yeshua. Tag team you in. I'm going for some rest and relaxation. Where you headed to? Salvation. I'm thinking about not coming back. Oh, you better come back, because I only got 7 days here, 6 days here with this regiment. Thy place of Horeb, once raised, behold, is measured and going down, and Moab is no more. Yeshua is fallen. Where floateth the plateau of many resurrections are now miring vampires and millions of souls that hear not and see not, but are forever burrowing deep in everlasting darkness. The plateaus are broken up, the substance scattered and unorganized, nor is there a vestige left to show the glorious work of the gods of the earth's past day. Hear me, O ye gods and goddesses, for in beholding these deep miseries, the soul is quickened to retain great wisdom. Thus created I man, out of darkness created I him, and my holy angels taught him to walk upright, and gave him my commandments, that he might advance to eternal light. But because man obeyed not the commandments of my God and my Lord's, he fell. Nevertheless, a few obeyed the commandments and fell not, raising up heirs for the glory of my heaven above. This kind of sounds like this the pre-speech. This the eulogy. They ain't dead yet, but they about to be. Nevertheless, a few obeyed the commandments and fell not, raising up heirs for the glory of my heavens above. Of such have I made an example on all the corporal worlds I created, for those that fell not became exemplars before the fallen. For having faith in me and my works, they questioned not my wisdom and justice, but of those that fell, this is the history. They first questioned my person, next my wisdom, next my justice, next my power, and after that proclaimed the folly of God and his lords, whereupon they usurped themselves to say, there is nothing higher than man. And they said of themselves, I am the highest. There's still some of these ninjas down here doing that today, right? They think man is the highest. So they have a supernatural experience, and then they start rethinking over their theory. Oh, we got new information. Hear my voice, O ye gods and goddesses, for as out of a contrary wind I give a mortal sea captain a wholesome lesson, or as out of a severe winter I give a corporal farmer a lesson in providing for his household, even so on the brink of a wicked world give I ye a lesson on the management of my kingdoms. That's good. Let me just read verse 6 again before I keep going. Listen. Let me go back to 5. But of those that fail, this is the history. They first questioned my person, next my wisdom, next my justice, next my power, and after that proclaimed the folly of God and his lords, whereupon they usurped to themselves to say, there is nothing higher than man, and they said of themselves, I am the highest. Hear my voice, O ye gods and goddesses, for as out of a contrary wind I give a mortal sea captain a wholesome lesson, or as out of a severe winter I give a corporal farmer a lesson in providing for his household. Right? Like, oh shoot, we done killed all the crops. We going into this winter skimped in the mud. What do we do? Make sure we don't do that next year. Start preparing a little bit early. Wait a minute. When is the first frost? Okay, this, like, seriously. You start thinking, Nene, shalom. My Dean, shalom. Abba girl, shalom, shalom. Tabitha, hey, girl, hey. Listen. Verse 6. Hear my voice, O ye gods and goddesses, for as out of a contrary wind I give a mortal sea captain a wholesome lesson, or as out of a severe winter I give a corporal farmer a lesson in providing for his household. Even so, on the brink of a wicked world, give I ye a lesson on the management of my kingdom. For from this time forth the earth shall not fail, nor her heavens above her. Wherein then shall not my gods rule over her in wisdom and power? Since many angels assumed they were the all highest, they put aside the commandments, one of which was to suffer not the spirits of the newly dead to return and dwell with their mortal kindred, for they, not knowing of the higher heavens, will teach falsely of Jehovah and his everlasting kingdoms. Right? He recounts to them. Listen, think back. Because remember when I had told y'all this, and the ones that graduated, millions in their class, under them, every graduation, the class got a little bit thinner, right? And then the earth got a little bit worse because you allowed the newly born spirits to go back. Instead of being 50 years, you decreased it to 5 years, right? Like, now you see the progression of wickedness over this time to now. We're all standing right here talking about Plan Z, right? Remember, Plan Z is the sinking. I made that up, Plan Z. Y'all ain't gonna find it nowhere. Plan Z is the sinking of a continent because we had to go through all these plans. We did everything to save this up until this point when there is nothing else, that can be done. Absolutely nothing. And I tell you, there is absolutely nothing else that can be done. We have to activate DEFCON 4, Plan Z, World War Z. about to be a bunch of zombies coming out this earth. Because we got to kill everybody. Okay, listen, that sounds horrible. But that's what Plan Z, they had to sink a continent, y'all. Because the spirits were horrible and flesh was so rotten that they just weren't human, right? And those that were good, the wicked overpowered those that were good. So before Plan Z is enacted, the few handful of righteous people were moved out, right? They were warned, go on to another continent, go ahead, get up out of here now. Go on, get up, go on. Y'all better get out of here. Y'all ain't got much time left. Look, verse 6. Hear my voice, O ye gods and goddesses, for as out of a contrary wind I give a mortal sea captain a wholesome lesson, or as out of a severe winter I give a corporal farmer a lesson in providing for his household. Even so, on the brink of a wicked world, give I ye a lesson on the management of my kingdom. For from this time forth the earth shall not fail, nor her heavens above her. Wherein then shall not my gods rule over her in wisdom and power? Since many angels assumed they were the all highest, they put aside the commandments, one of which was to suffer not the spirits of the newly dead to return and dwell with their mortal kindred, for they, not knowing of the higher heavens, will teach falsely of Jehovah and his everlasting kingdoms. And it came to pass on page 70 at the top, at the end of chapter 5. Verse 8. And it came to pass that when one commandment was set aside, the others were also. And it followed that the spirits of the newly dead, who were without knowledge of heaven, led mortals in their own way. All right. Put it back. Carol. And it came to pass that when one commandment was set aside, the others were also. It's like your grandmama say, if you lie, you will cheat. If you cheat, you will steal. If you're doing one, you're going to do all of them. Just don't do none of them. And it came to pass that when one commandment was set aside, the others were also. And it followed that the spirits of the newly dead, who were without knowledge of heaven, led mortals in their own way. For they dwelt together and slept together, and in dreams and visions mortals judged themselves to be wise, not knowing they were obsessed in sleep, and for the desires of the flesh they found acquiescence in spirit, having no higher God or Lord. And as one spirit returned and fastened itself on a mortal, so did another and another, till hundreds and thousands of spirits dwelt in one corporal body. Yeah, we got the living proof of that. We're going over these case studies now because y'all not following the commandments. Listen. Now we're trying to figure out what's been going on down here in this crazy upside down world. Creator telling us from the beginning. It ain't just us. It's all, I mean, not saying that all current stars, hopefully they doing better, but they still learning just like we are, right? Get this under control, y'all. Everybody is stars, and everybody is stars watching me. Get it under control, people, and spirit people. Put it together. Better turn it down. Thank you. For they dwelt together and slept together, and in dreams and visions mortals judged themselves to be wise, not knowing they were obsessed in sleep, and for the desires of the flesh they found acquiescence in spirit, having no higher God or Lord. And as one spirit returned and fastened itself on a mortal, so did another and another, till hundreds and thousands of spirits dwelt in one corporal body. You know what, that just brings up another point. Those who get demon possessed and have multiple personalities, what in the world happened with their shards? They are shards, right? Because first of all, this shouldn't be happening. Now let's go back to early childhood. Like, we got to go through this. We got to go through the checklist. Boom, boom, boom. Was there trauma? This. A lot of times we discount the spiritual world. We don't think about the shards and what's been happened down the line. Was there shards ran off? before the birth of the child, to where now the mother and father is being surrounded by false gods and false lords and false ashars, right? Causing this demon possession to happen, right? All you people run around, not y'all, all of the people run around here crazy, doing mass murders and stuff. This is a perfect example of what's happened to them. Listen, let's go back to verse 8. And it came to pass that when one commandment was set aside, the others were also. And it followed that the spirits of the newly dead, who were without knowledge of heaven, led mortals in their own way. For they dwelt together and slept together. And in dreams and visions, mortals judged themselves to be wise, not knowing that they were obsessed in sleep. And for the desires of the flesh, they found acquiescence in spirit, having no higher God or Lord. And as one spirit returned and fastened itself on a mortal, so did another, and another, till hundreds and thousands of spirits dwelt in one corporal body, oft driving hence the natural spirit that I gave in time of conception. Are we not reading about this? The natural spirit is you. You've been put into the sunken place. They done put all my people in the sunken place. Now we got to sink the continent and bring my babies up out of here. Somebody get my babies out of here. I was about to watch The Color Purple yesterday. Look, Uncle JB, Grand Rising. Yeah, you can see it all now, Elijah. Look, listen. Get my babies out. Look, that might be our title. Get my babies out of here. And my best, what was Oprah Winfrey character name? Miss Sophia. My best Miss Sophia voice. Don't do it, Miss Sophia. Don't do it. I had to fight all my life. Okay, let me quit playing. Verse 10. And as one spirit returned and fastened itself on a mortal, so did another, and another, till hundreds and thousands of spirits dwelt in one corporal body, oft driving hence the natural spirit I gave in the time of conception. And these mortals knew it not, and they became void of direct purpose because of the confusion of the soul, and they were worthless on the earth. Y'all better break y'all highlighters up. Miss Amazing Wonders. Hey, girl. Hey, Nava. Look. Shoot, I didn't get this much out of this the first time I was reading through, because now I'm aware of a lot more spiritual things. Now reading back through this, I'm like, oh, snap. This is amazing. I'm glad I read it over. Okay, listen. Verse 10, page 70 at the top. And as one spirit returned and fastened itself on a mortal, so did another, and another, till hundreds and thousands of spirits dwelt in one corporal body, oft driving the natural spirit I gave in the time, oft driving hence the natural spirit I gave in the time of conception. And these mortals knew it not, and they became void of direct purpose because of the confusion of soul, and they were worthless on the earth. Jehovah further said, henceforth for a long season it shall be on earth that the spirits of the Esians shall not be suffered to return and dwell with mortals, but the earth shall be encompassed on all sides with walls of Emun, E-M-U-N, with walls of Emun, and with ashars to bear away the spirits of the dead in the hour of death. But there shall come a time when mortals are capable of comprehending these matters, in which time their kindred spirits shall return at intervals from their holy labors in heaven, and see them and talk with them face to face. And that was the end of chapter 5. We're going to read one more chapter, and then we're going to hop over here to the group. I don't think it's about to look down. It's about to go down. Look, but I don't think just yet. They still talking, putting everything together, where everybody gathering around, everybody man in their place, all hands on deck. It full battle gear. We about to do this thing, but I'm still laying things in place, making sure this plan goes flawlessly, right? Hold on. Chapter 6, page 70 at the top. Oh, yeah. 35 minutes, yeah. This chapter is only 14 verses. Okay. And now, son of Jehovah, said, when the Etherian hosts were arranged in due order, I called out to thee, O Jehovah, saying, in thy strength and wisdom, O Father, join thou the heavens above and the earth below, and the end of the Etherian column that extended to Chinvat on the border of the vortex of the earth was made fast by the pressure of thy wide heavens. Again I said, in thy strength and wisdom, O Jehovah, join thou the heavens above with the earth below. And the end of the Etherian column that extended down to the earth was made fast around the borders of Waga by the sea and by the high mountains on the north. Again I said, O Jehovah, deliver thou the earth from evil for thy glory forever. And the vortex of the earth closed in from the extreme, and lo, the earth was broken. Oh, shoot. It's happening. I skipped over this part. It is. It's going down like right now. Hold on. Look, verse 6. The vortex of the earth closed in from the extreme, and lo, the earth was broken. A mighty continent was cut loose from its fastenings, and the fires of the earth came forth in flames and clouds with loud roaring, and the land rocked to and fro like a ship at sea. Again I said, O Jehovah, deliver thou thy heavens, which are bound as with a chain to a rotten carcass. And again the vortex of the earth closed in about on all sides, and by the pressure the land sank down beneath the water to rise no more, and the corporeans went down to death, and the fetals and familiars gave up the battle. Neither they had whereon to stand, nor knew how to go to any place in all the heavens, but were lost and crying out for help. And my host hastened in all directions with their birth blankets, and received the Druhas and fetals and Esians and millions, and gathered them to the place of the fountain of light, where I had provided atmosphere for them, and they were placed within. And their numbers were so great that even gods had scarce seen the like before. And in order to attest before thee, O Jehovah, I had them numbered, using the sections of the divisions of my gods and goddesses in order to do so. And there were of Druhas and fetals 16,600 million, many of whom had lived on earth as fetals and Druhas for thousands of years, right? For thousands of years. So it is some very, very old souls lingering around this place. And there were of Druhas and fetals 16,600 million, many of whom had lived on earth as fetals and Druhas for thousands of years, though many others of them were not capable of everlasting life. And of the first resurrection, there were 36,000 million. And of the second resurrection, there were 305 million. Hold on, y'all. I could have sworn I heard my door, but nothing. Okay, I knew I wasn't tripping. Somebody set my door alarm off. I don't know if y'all heard it. Somebody set the door alarm off, but I didn't hear my door open, thinking it was probably my son. But it's a package delivered early, 7:15. Amazon be on it. Holidays, you get your packages like 4 a.m. Okay, hold on, let me go back. Page 71. I'll start verse 10 again. and there were of Druhas and Phedos 16,600 million, many of whom had lived on the earth as Phedos and Druhas for thousands of years, though many others of them were not capable of everlasting life. And of the first resurrection there were 36,000 million, and of the second resurrection there were 305 million. But during the last 100 years the earth brought forth none capable of everlasting life, save indeed the remnants of Ehims. Now when the earth was delivered, and there was no escape for the spirits of the dead, nor no returning to mortals, I called out to thee, O Jehovah, saying, Give me of thy power, O Jehovah, and I will carry up all the plateaus of hell and the heavens of the buried continent. And thy hand came as the blade of a sword, flaming like fire, and swept over the ocean of the sunken land, cleaving all asunder. And lo and behold, the anchorage of my feet was cut loose, and the spheres of heaven at my command. Thy voice, O Jehovah, came to me, saying, Descend thou, my son, down to the floor of the resurrection, and take my daughter Phaetizi with thee, and go into the midst of the place of ascension. For I will add unto thy glory the resurrection of all that thine eyes have beholden. So I descended and took Phaetizi, daughter of Jehovah, with me. And when we were come into the place commanded, the power came upon the place, and it started upward. And soon thereafter it turned on its vertical axis and rose higher and higher, turning and rising. And we saw we were loose from the earth, and no longer rotated with the earth, but rose slowly upward, watching the earth rotating beneath us. I said, Upward, O Jehovah, upward, O Jehovah, upward, O Jehovah. And all the hosts repeated the same words, for our wills and knowledge were as a unit, wherein we had strength in thee, our Creator. This is so much better the second time around. We're going to pause right here since we have 42 minutes. But it happened. The continent is sunk, and the spirits are delivered. Now we got a bunch of crying babies in the nursery. Now we got to tend to them. Let's go. Our work is going to be long and hard, and we have this challenge before us. Let us go. All right, y'all. So let's I always be closing it without writing my page number down. 71. Okay. 71. Let's hop on over here to the field guide to the spirit world, right? Fast forward to the current generation and find out what's been happening, how we've been seeing some of these same patterns happen again and again, right? Okay. Page 151, the unseen guest. This is chapter 6, right? Yep, chapter 6, the unseen guest. Let's go to the top of page. We may not. If I don't start with any stories, we may finish this. We only got a few pages left. Okay. Page 151, right at the top. Key, hey girl, hey. The clairvoyant who is aware of his powers is also aware of the downside and finds ways of arming himself or herself against spiritual parasites and the uninvited guests. However, the psychic who is not aware of his paranormal antenna remains defenseless in the face of the uninvited phantom. Like one thing that I used and I learned before I started coming across any of the other, before I actually started actively looking for other resources to verify what I was reading in the Bible or things that I found to be contradicting and stuff, I would have like little attacks and stuff where I was literally scared to live in my own house by myself. Before me and my husband got married, we had already had Elijah, but he was back in Illinois and I was here. I had my own apartment, and this was before my middle sister, Alicia, the one that's a nurse now, before she came to stay with us. It was just me and Elijah, and I was scared as crap to live in my own house because of things that I would hear and see all the time, and I did not know how to get it under control until I went. I'm thankful that my aunt and my uncle live right around the corner. They had purchased a home over here, and I was in these little apartments, active duty, and so they were helping me out before I actually got my child care squared away. Elijah would go over there in the mornings and stuff, right? But most of the time, we'd already be over there in the morning because the night before, we was already over there. And in my head, I'm like, okay, so Auntie, if I bring him over, I don't have to wake y'all up early in the morning. I don't have to worry about waking up the babies. You know, he'll already be here the night before. And then, you know, I could just go about the day. I said, but I'm not just going to bring him over. I'm going to come over too. And I'm going to make sure he stay out your hair. You know, we could just stay over here in the little guest room. You know, I make sure everything good. You know, you ain't got to worry about him. He'll be asleep. That way you ain't got to get up in the morning. I just go on here and get up out of here. They caught on to what I was doing after a few days. It's like, Pam, you literally got your own house over here. I was like, but I'm scared. And so I talked to my uncle. I was like, listen, I can't sleep. I'm hearing these voices and stuff. And I knew I wasn't crazy because I've been having dreams and all this stuff like all my life. But once I got out on my own and I was in the military and my husband wasn't here yet, all that stuff seemed to just like amplify on the inside of me. And I didn't know how to control it, right? And at night, I wasn't getting any kind of sleep. She said, Pam, she said, and she was joking at first. She said, you ever try reading the Bible before you go to sleep? Most people, they sleep within like 5 minutes and the Bible is on the floor. I was like, see, that don't really happen that way for me, right? Because when I'm reading, I'm up. It like energizes me and I just keep reading. And then I'm up and I just can't go to sleep. And I'm going to work delirious and stuff, right? So she said, this is what you need to do. She said, matter of fact, she gave me one of her Bibles. And I'm trying to remember if, because they still had the Bible. You can still get it now from some places. The Bible on CD, right? But she said specifically, let the Psalms play. She said, I don't know how it works. I just know it works. Let the Psalms play at night. And she said, just let it play in your house and it'll bring like a peace. And it literally did. From the time I started doing that, I took that Psalms. It was one CD. It was Psalms, and then it had Proverbs towards the end, which was cool. You can let Proverbs play too. But that was my go-to for years, just to keep the peace in my house, because all that crazy activity, dreams being crazy, it would be brought under control just simply by just letting the Psalms play. And I kept my little CD player on repeat, right? You know, so hold up. Thank you for paying attention, Hannah. Hold up. And I wrote it down too. Look. Page, can y'all see it? Page 153. And I still started on the wrong page. Thank you for being observant and paying attention. Hold on. But I mean, I just started with a story. So let's go to the top of page 153. But I'm going to finish the story. Maybe I needed to tell this story. So, but from that point, I realized right here it says, hold on. The clairvoyant who is aware of his powers is also aware of the downside and finds ways of arming himself or herself against paranormal parasites and the uninvited guests, right? So one way of arming myself against all that spiritual foolery that was happening around me and I couldn't sleep was putting on Psalms and Proverbs, right? So I love the Bible. Like I grew up, I learned so much just by the Bible alone. But now that I'm growing a little bit higher in the grades, I use it for strengths. And I still would recommend, like if you're having issues, because they absolutely work. I know for years, I let the Psalms and Proverbs play. And even sometimes here, when things get a little, you know, I will put it on through my phone app and I just let it play in the atmosphere and it'll calm the atmosphere down. If I've already gone through, I'm like, I don't know what's happening. I'm just going to put it on and let it play. And it literally changes the atmosphere. And I want to say it brings in an unseen light in the spiritual realm that those spirits of a Lord nature, they just cannot handle. And it literally, it does a clean sweep of the atmosphere. Right? So that's one of the tools I learned. Okay, so let's hop to the right page. Page 153. I must have needed to share that, right? Because yesterday, because we read that yesterday. The whole thing that whole example didn't come to me yesterday. But, okay, let's go to the right page, page 153. Nightmares and hauntings may have a shared history, They may be two sides of the same coin. Consider the compelling story of Jan Bartel, a psychic of the second type. Her nightmares were exacerbated by her own undeveloped psychism. A negative medium, Jan had the, quote, gifts, end quote, but denied it, preferring a, quote, common sense, end quote, approach. Yet from the looks of her full length posthumous autobiography, Spindrift, it may have killed her. An actress, Jan had taken a Victorian townhouse apartment next door to Mark Twain's old digs in Greenwich Village, New York. Here, her sleep was disturbed by dreams of her own funeral and of wraiths that materialized out of the walls, sticking her with sharp glass and smothering her with sickly clouds, quote, rank with decay, end quote. Echoes of Poe's, quote, moldy graves, end quote, or the ghostly stench at Bill A's place. Jan's landlord admitted they had actually found a body in the walls during renovations, quote, apparently a murder victim, end quote. On some nights, unearthly rappings kept Jan awake. There was, quote, ghost cold, end quote, in the apartment. Aborted grapes, quote, fussy movements, end quote, of an undetermined origin, vibrating moans that changed into the sound of, quote, horrible strangulated gurglings, end quote, and there were footsteps, perfume, a lady ghost, orbs, odd noises, an ear-splitting crash, though nothing broke. A phantom woman in white, a spirit cat. Her own cat would freeze, straining, quote, to follow the progress of something, end quote. Then a small table moved on its own about 18 inches across the room. Desperate for relief, the still skeptical Jan went to a psychic as a last resort. The woman told her not only was there a presence, quote, some earthbound spirit, end quote, in her apartment, but that she, Jan, was, quote, a sensitive, both clairvoyant and clairaudient. You, Mrs. Bartel, are a medium, end quote. Jan was shocked, quote, so what kind of medium does that make me, end quote, she said sarcastically, quote, an undeveloped one. End quote, the woman told her, quote, obviously, your psychic faculties are operating without any conscious sense of direction, but conscious or not, they are operating, end quote. Some lingering negative force was using Jan. The editor's postscript to her book reads, quote, Jan Bryant Bartel finished the writing of Spindrift in March of 1973. After delays in typing, as one typist after another fell ill, emphasis added on as one typist after another fell ill, she delivered the completed manuscript to the publisher on May 14th. On June 18th, Jan died at home. The coroner's report listed the cause of death as a heart attack, end quote. Bartel, 1974, pages 28 through 29, 54, 158, 175, 101, 163, 178, and 237. And after a heart attack, there's an asterisk. And down at the bottom, the asterisk says, Josh, put it back, because I told Bella no. Go put it back. Matter of fact, give it here. I might need to look something up. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Get out the kitchen. The asterisk at the bottom says, a year later, 1975, another haunting with nightmares, this one on the other coast, was equally well done and detailed in Pat Montadon's very interesting book, The Intruders. Nightmares were only part of a great gestalt of strange phenomena at Pat's old Mancy, or Mancy. Maybe Mancy is short for mansion. I don't know. At Patso Mancy. Ghost cold. The dog freaking out. Phantom footfalls. Touches and pushes. Dizziness. Weird, quote, accidents, end quote. Disembodied music. Sour smells. Inexplicable fire. Self-opening and slamming windows and doors. It was a versatile presence, but not a friendly one. Montandon, 1975, page 171 through 172. What's today? Thursday? Oh, that's tomorrow. Okay, that was appointment reminder. Okay. Go back up. The second paragraph on page 154. More recently, the ghostly nightmare was reported by the popular medium James Van Praagh. When he was a youth in a Catholic boarding school, his nightmares, seeing a boy being hanged in the presence of a priest, were not his alone. Quote, soon other kids had similar weird dreams about a priest, a man, a noose, and a small child. End quote. The objectivity of the grisly dream was eventually proven when a town historian came forth with the history of the old building that housed the boys. Back in the early 1800s, a demented father of a sick and possessed boy, finding no relief from a priest's exorcism, plotted to, quote, get rid of the devil by killing his son and ending his suffering, end quote. And this he did by hanging the child. Although it was well known that the Catholic school was haunted, nevertheless, quote, it was a sin for Catholics to believe in such things. How crazy is that, right? Like if we just don't talk about it, it's gonna go. That's like the theory. Like if it's a boogeyman under your bed, we just gonna keep our feet on the bed under the covers because he ain't gonna be able to get us. My G, if there is something under your bed, it can get from under your bed and snatch you out of it. The blanket is not gonna help you, people. No, Josh, leave it here. Or we just don't talk about it. It'll go away. No, it won't. Although it was well known that the Catholic school was haunted, nevertheless, quote, it was a sin for Catholics to believe in such things, end quote. Whenever there were supernatural rattlings or worse, the priest blamed it on, quote, some mice. Go back to bed, end quote. They told the boys, quote, everything is all right, end quote. But the nightmares persisted, and so did James's conviction. Quote, deep down I knew there was a ghost or ghosts haunting this place, end quote. Van Praagh, 2008, page 134 through 37. Catholics are not the only ones to malign such beliefs as sinful or delusional. Richard Ramirez's vivid nightmares were written off as, quote, just a product of his wild imagination, end quote. Carlo, 1996, page 202. Ramirez, you may remember, was LA's notorious Night Stalker, a sadistic serial killer. His nightmares, in which he was pursued by, quote, horrible monsters, frightening him to the core, end quote. There is every reason to believe that Richard's disturbing dreams were the first sign of malicious entities that would eventually get the upper hand. This young man, who often slept in a cemetery to avoid his awful home life, became a textbook pawn of unseen forces, a classic case of demonic possession. The negative overshadowing of Richard Ramirez's the negative overshadowing of Richard Ramirez manifested in many ways: corpulea, hyperpraxia, hyperactivity, staring spells, migraines and blackouts, suicide attempts, dual personality, epileptoid seizures, sexual impotence, and Satanist affiliations. Carlo, 1996, pages 298, 142, 206, 323, 285, 91, 154, and page 10. Other high-profile killers fall into the same category. David Berkowitz, which is the son of Sam, and Arthur Shawcross both had screaming nightmares. So did Gary Gilmore, whose bad dream was always the same. He was beheaded. There must be a reason. Excuse me. There must be a reason, after all, why more than 2/3 of American and Russian serial killers are subject to intense nightmares. The predatory work of these men is essentially impersonal, random, motiveless, pointless, quote, stranger killing, end quote, as it is called, committed often enough in a kind of trance. That state of consciousness, germane to their psychological profile, is the most vitally important yet least understood aspect of serial murder, or pattern killings as it is also dubbed. Abnormally and pathologically dissociated serial killers are remarkably similar. With Ken Bianchi, LA's Hillside Strangler, whose story is well told in Darcy O'Brien's book, Two of a Kind, The Hillside Stranglers, the overshadowing by an alien, somebody, was so evident that two of Ken's doctors, Watkins and Ellison, diagnosed MPD, or multiple personal disorder. As previously discussed, Ken's murderous other alter was someone named Steve. It was the foul-mouthed Steve who was the source of the nightmares. Keon, shalom. Shayla, hey girl, hey Ali, shalom, shalom. Okay, so after night terrors, there's an asterisk, right? And the asterisk at the bottom says, research has uncovered altered states of consciousness, ASCs, at the root of night terrors. These abnormal panic attacks do not occur in normal REM, rapid eye movement sleep. Night terrors occur before REM sleep sets in, usually in the first hour or so of sleep. Overwhelmed by the intruder from the next dimension of life, the sleeper, quote, jumps out of bed as if fleeing from an assailant, end quote. Knoll, 1990, page 184 to 85. Sleepwalking, night terrors, and astral dreams, unlike ordinary subjective dreams, all have a life of their own, signaling the excarnate world just beyond the grasp of ego and conscious mind. Okay, so I'm going to reread this last sentence because I didn't finish it. And at the end of page 156, we're going to pause. So let me put this here. Okay. Okay. The last sentence at the bottom of page 155. It was the foul-mouthed Steve who was the source of the night terrors that put such a fear in Ken that he would, quote, wake up screaming. When Ken dreamed of Steve, Steve, was a dead ringer for himself. In clairvoyant and dream states, the attaching spirit may impersonate the host or appear disguised as his victim host, a copycat. Ken, in the dream, opened a door and, quote, there was my twin, me, end quote. Ken hollered at the phantom, get out of my life. They scuffled, as in similar reports of, quote, fighting the demon, end quote. Toward the end of the dream, Ken reached to grab Steve, but he just disappeared. Then Ken felt a cool breeze, ghost cold. That's what they call the cool breeze, ghost cold. Then Ken felt a cool breeze, ghost cold, and woke up. Using hypnosis, Dr. Watkins got Steve to take the spot. Oh, snap. They doing like that, like on the psychologist on Split. Using hypnosis, Dr. Watkins got Steve. Remember, Steve is the alter, the one behind all the craziness going on in Ken's life. Jamia, shalom, shalom. Listen. Using hypnosis, excuse me, page 156. Using hypnosis, Dr. Watkins got Steve to take the spot. He then grilled him. Are you the same as Ken? Quote, I'm not him, end quote, came the answer. Indeed, the voice was different. Steve claimed that he made Ken think, quote, all these really morbid thoughts and made sure he didn't really know what was going on, end quote. O'Brien, 1985, page 141 and 182. And we can see this really clearly when you watch the movie Split, y'all. I'm a reshare it again with a different clip this time, right? I'm going to get some, I think I'm going to get them clips when he was talking to the psychiatrist. Yeah, that's what I'm going to share today. I forgot to share my videos that I said I was going to share yesterday, too. I'll share all of them today as soon as we get done. Okay, now we almost done. Hold on. Using hypnosis, Dr. Watkins got Steve to take the spot. He then grilled him. Are you the same thing as Ken? Quote, I am not him, end quote, came the answer. Indeed, the voice was different. Steve claimed that he made Ken think, quote, all these really morbid thoughts and made sure he didn't really know what was going on, end quote. O'Brien, 1985, page 141 and page 182. I'm almost done.
You have 4 left.
No, I'm just grabbing these to hold them. We read all of these pages. I just grabbed a bundle and I'm just holding it. There are striking parallels with the case of the shoemaker.
You're almost done?
Yes, I am. I'm almost done. There are striking parallels with the case of the shoemaker, the homicidal Joe Callinger, who would awake from his nightmares of a, quote, big hairy man screaming and thrashing, end quote. Amazing are the similarities between the hillside strangler and the shoemaker, a sensitive but deranged killer. Both of them normally, quote, nice guys, both adopted, both dual, both punished in childhood by a sadistic parent who put the boy's hands over the gas burner. Both made non-entities by their overbearing parents. Wow. Both, quote, ordered, end quote, psychiatrically to kill. Both with undetected damage to the brain. Both with memory gaps or lost time, twitches, and, quote, twin spirit, end quote. And both with nightmares.
Mine the George on the iPad?
No, I didn't, but he did take it. He can't get on it. Let's switch for a moment to lady murderers. Lisa W., who shot her husband to death, and Amina A., who pushed 2 of her children out of their 10th story window. Both of these disturbed women suffered from night terrors. The night before Lisa W. killed her spouse, she felt, quote, strange, as if all of her were not quite together, end quote. Self-disintegrating spirit. Hold on. The night before Lisa W. killed her spouse, she felt strange, as if all of her were not quite together. Self-disintegrating spirit approaching. The next day, quote, as if possessed by demons, end quote, she fired on her husband as he walked in the door. She had never used a firearm before and, in fact, was a proper lady who literally, quote, sang in a church choir, end quote. Total amnesia immediately followed the shooting. She was at a loss to explain how she, quote, could have ever done such a terrible thing, end quote. Blinder, 1985, page 126 to page 128. And that is where we will pause. I know that's right in the middle of the women killers, but we're going to pick it back up with Amina A. when we come back here Saturday, right? So we're going to go ahead and end it and get out of here. Y'all, thank y'all for hanging out today. It is Thursday, December the 1st, 2022, day 277 of a year 4 of reading through the books of the Law and the Prophets, another 4-year consecutive day count, day 1297. We read in the book of Oahspe, pages 67 to 71, and we actually read the part where Waga was broken off, right? In the field guide to the spirit realm. We didn't finish the chapter yet, but we definitely going to finish it on Saturday when we come back. Chapter 6, the unseen guest. I started on page, by mistake, 153. No, I'm sorry, 151 by mistake, and read that first sentence. Then I was reminded that we're supposed to start on page 153. So after I finished reading that one sentence and giving my life example from it, we hopped over to page 153 and we read to page 156. And this is where we pause at today. So, Father, we thank you that not only are you a great listener, you are also a great comforter in the times that we need it. And not just when we need it, when just period. You know? All right, y'all. So thank y'all for hanging out today. Bella, come on, girl. You gotta go. I've been really going over my time, and we earlier, starting at like an hour earlier than before. And for some reason, we still are using 2 hours, right? When it's supposed to be an hour, cut and dry. But I think I had a little bit of time to play with, especially last week because the kids were sick and I was going to be here anyway, just adjusting things. But we whittling it back down to the hour that we're supposed to be here, right?
Mom, look, you have to put your number on first.
Thank you. Thank you, girl. All right, y'all. All right, so with that being said, y'all, I love y'all. Thank y'all for hanging out. Everybody have a wonderful day. We will not be here tomorrow because this moon cycle, the Sabbath, is tomorrow on Friday. But we'll see y'all back here Saturday. We'll do 7:30. 7:30 because my class doesn't start till 9. Yeah, 7:30. We'll be back here Saturday at 7:30 a.m. All right. I love y'all. See y'all back here bright and early. 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Saturday. Love y'all.
Peace. I don't know.
Yeah, okay. Oh, yeah, you got to see it. Shiru said, Bella.